Hey guys, what's going on? So I know as Jets fans, it's been a rough 24 hours to say the least, okay? I get it. I completely get it, right? We've been missing out on guys left and right. I don't know what the deal is. I don't know if it's like Joe Douglas not making the calls, not being able to negotiate. I don't know if it's players not wanting to come to this team. I don't know if it's because Adam Gase is there and players don't want to play for him because he does have a bad reputation with players, across the league. I don't know if it's the Jets getting outbid. I don't even know if we're even trying. I don't know what's going on here, but we've seen a lot of guys fly off the board, right? Guys like Jack Conklin, boom, Browns. Joe Tooney gets tagged by New England, right? Those were the two big guys that I felt like the Jets needed to target. And then we had other guys too that just signed really, really quick with other teams. Guys like Graham Glasgow signs a 4-year contract with the Denver Broncos. He would have been an immediate upgrade on this Jets team. And then you look at our division, and you have teams like the Buffalo Bills going out re-signing Quentin Spain and then trading for a number one superstar wide receiver in Stephon Diggs. Yes, they did give up a lot to go get him, but at the end of the day, the Bills today are a better team than they were yesterday, or before the trade, because the trade happened yesterday. But you guys know what I'm saying. Miami, on the other hand, they're out here just completely changing their team. They're signing guys like Kyle Van Noy, Shaq Lawson. Byron Jones was the big money free agent guy that they picked up from Dallas, a true number one cornerback that has shown that he can hang with number one wide receivers, guys like Michael Thomas and Mike Evans, and the Alshon Jeffries of the world, the Julio Joneses. So it's a tough pill to swallow. You kind of have a feeling of defeat after all these teams are upgrading, are getting better. And I'm not saying that I'm disappointed that the Jets aren't spending money, because that's not really the goal of free agency. It's never to spend as much money as possible. It's to find the right guys, try your best to sign them to a team-friendly contract, or to not overpay guys. But I know that's difficult for some teams out there to do based off of record, based off of where they play and whatnot. And I know that the core value of every NFL franchise should be to build through the draft. But I feel as though right now the Jets have tons and tons and tons of holes on this team, like corner, like edge rusher, like tackle, guard, and center, like backup quarterback, like wide receiver, okay? We like outside linebacker, okay? Because we're probably not going to be bringing back Jordan Jenkins, who's asking for $13 million a season. That's too much for him. I don't think the Jets are going to be willing to pay him that and try to re-sign him to a deal. I don't think that's going to be going down. So I'm looking at, the remaining free agents, and believe it or not, we still have some hope. Okay, there's still some really, really solid guys out there for the Jets to try to target and try to get under contract, okay? I kind of wanted to go through a couple of them. So the first two are edge rushers, and, the biggest names left in the free agency market. Number one, Jadeveon Clowney, former Houston Texan, and Seattle Seahawk, former number one overall pick. This guy has tremendous upside. He was picked number one overall for a reason. This guy can kind of play in a 4-3, hand to the dirt. He can play in a 3-4, stand-up edge, outside linebacker. This guy's a dominant force, okay? He's not the best edge rusher in the league. He's not a top 3 edge rusher in the league. But the cool thing with Clowney is that he can be that, right? If a coach gets it out of him, this guy can be a dominant, unstoppable force at the edge. And I know that might sound like I'm over-exaggerating. I'm really not. Okay, Clowney flashes. Clowney, certain plays throughout the game, you look at him and he's just like, you think to yourself, this guy, if he just puts it all together, if he's a little bit more consistent, if he stays healthy, and yes, those are a lot of question marks. We have to take that into consideration, but this guy can be unstoppable on the edge. So he's still available. And then we have Dante Fowler, too. Okay, former 3rd overall pick by the Jacksonville Jaguars. He's the number one guy who I want the Jets to get right now. And I feel like it's kind of a weird thing because I've always seemed to talk about Dante Fowler on this channel for years now. Back when he was kind of put up for trade by the Jaguars, I was kind of like out in front saying, hey, the Jets should, maybe make a push to go and trade this guy. We had an extra third-round pick at the time because we traded away Teddy Bridgewater and got the Saints third-rounder. And I was kind of at the forefront, just saying, hey, let's try to make a push for Dante Fowler. And then the Rams got him. And now he's a free agent again. Or last year because the Rams traded for him and then he re-signed with the Rams. I feel like every time this guy's kind of been available, I've kind of just been like, I want the Jets to go get this guy because he does have a ton of potential. He has a lot of speed off the edge, and he does fit the system incredibly, incredibly well. Again, another guy who can play in a 3-4 or in a 4-3. Great for what Greg Williams wants to do. I don't know how good he is in pass coverage against the run, but against attacking the passer, getting after quarterbacks, he's really, really, really good at that. Again, still a guy with a high ceiling, hasn't really reached his full potential just, as of right now. So moving on, a couple shifting gears, kind of talking about a different position is a cornerback, right? The Jets have a massive, massive hole at corner because, we're intended to cut Trumaine Johnson. I don't know why we're doing that or why we haven't done that right now. I mean, really, what are we waiting for? But in any case, we need to get better at that position big time. So a couple guys that are still available, there's actually a lot. Okay, Logan Ryan, former Patriot, former Titan, went to Rutgers. This is a hard-nosed player, a very smart player, really has a nice or a high defensive IQ. I think he could come in immediately, just start and be a massive upgrade just from day one. With this Jets team, he could pick up what they want to do on defense under Greg Williams, and he's going to be he'll fit nice with Jamal Adams, right? Those two guys have really high defensive IQs. They know what they're doing. They kind of are always in the right spot at the right time. And even though Logan Ryan, he's not, 23, 24, 25 years old, he still could come in and contribute. I mean, look at that Tennessee Titans defense last season. It was fantastic. Was it all about Logan Ryan? No, absolutely not. But he was definitely a contributing piece to that defense. Next up, Chris Harris from Denver. Chris Harris is an interesting case study when you look at him. Former #1 cornerback, right? Has a ton of experience, a ton of great games, a ton of games where he just covered the #1 wideout and just did his thing out there. He has experience playing in the slot as well. So if we can't, get a guy like Brian Poole back, we could kind of move him around as a chess piece on the defense. And right now, since he still isn't signed or agreed to terms with a team yet, I look at Chris Harris as a guy who maybe you could get on the cheaper end. He's not asking for a Byron Jones type of deal. So maybe he could still be discussing, but I look at Chris Harris as a possible option who could come in and be more than just a Band-Aid player. Next up, Desmond Trufant. Okay, Desmond Trufant, he was a guy who got just up and released by the Atlanta Falcons randomly. I really didn't think Atlanta, who struggles on defense, would just go out and just up and release Desmond Trufant. Now, I know he was a big cap hit for Atlanta, and that's why they obviously made the move. But he was a great system fit, and he did a lot of good things for the Atlanta Falcons. I think if the Jets were to go out and pursue this guy, again, like Logan Ryan, he would come in instantly and be the team's best cornerback, or pretty much on the squad. I mean, now that I'm thinking about it, I mean, we don't really have that much depth at the position as it is. I think we only have 3 or 4 guys under contract, and one of those guys is going to be Trumaine Johnson, who's going to be released. So Desmond Trufant, another guy that we can possibly take a look at here. So shifting gears, talking a little bit about some guys that can be instant upgrades, instant impact guys on the offensive side of the football. 2 quick guys, Emmanuel Sanders at wide receiver, and then Brian Bulaga, the ex-tackle for the Green Bay Packers. Now, let's talk about Sanders first. This is a guy who's played on a bunch of, or in a bunch of games. He's not, there's some tread on his tires, okay? Former Steeler, former Bronco, former 49er. But the cool thing about Emmanuel Sanders is that he seems to produce everywhere he goes, no matter if it's, he's home, away, this team, that team, regular season, playoffs, preseason, what have you. He always seems to produce. He always is getting open. He's always finding ways to get the football. And offensive coordinators love to use players like that. Again, I don't think he's going to be commanding a contract like an Amari Cooper, who just signed a $20 million annual contract. I don't see Sanders signing something mega like that. So maybe he's a guy who, since the Jets missed out on on an Amari Cooper, maybe we have to shift gears and target an Emmanuel Sanders. Maybe you have to overpay a little bit. But hey, at this point, we haven't signed practically, we haven't made any splashes. Okay, I know we signed the tackle from Seattle, but that wasn't like a massive splash. We still have some money to spend. Okay. And then Brian Bulaga, right? This is a guy who has a ton of experience playing for Green Bay. He's done his thing with the Green Bay Packers. Been a very, very, very solid player. I'm actually shocked that Green Bay didn't re-sign him. But at the end of the day, he doesn't really fit what Matt LaFleur wants to do on offense. So I kind of understand it. Plus, taking into consideration the cap hit as well. And he's over 30 years old. I believe he's 31 as of right now. But he's a guy right now who could come in. He's younger than Trent Williams. And we wouldn't have to give up an asset for him. And it's an immediate upgrade at left tackle. So just in case we miss out on, one of these top tackles in the draft, like a Jedrick Wills, like a Tristan Wirfs, and Andrew Thomas, or my favorite guy out of all of them, Mekhi Becton, we have a nice insurance policy with Brian Bulaga. Okay, so I do feel comfortable with Bulaga protecting Darnold's blind side, right? So the left occupying the left tackle position. Because look, as of right now, the Cardinals, they just traded for DeAndre Hopkins. So I think that takes them out of the Jerry Jeudy, CeeDee Lamb conversation within the top 10. I'm really thinking that Arizona's going to go offensive line. So now you're looking at teams that need offensive linemen in the top 10, right? So teams picking ahead of us. Cleveland needs offensive line. They're at 10. The Giants need offensive line. They're at 4. The Chargers, if they go out and they sign Tom Brady, or they feel comfortable with Tyrod heading into the 2020 season, they can go out and snag a tackle at spot number 6. I think Miami's going to go quarterback, even though they need tackle. And then Carolina just signed Teddy Bridgewater, so that takes him out of the quarterback conversation as well. Even though I'm thinking Carolina might go Jeff Okudah, kind of Derek Brown, down that kind of route. They can be in play for one of these top tackles. Arizona for sure. I want to say Jacksonville needs a tackle, but it's not number one on their priority list. So bottom line is this. There's a very, very, very high chance that if the Jets miss out on all these different offensive linemen in free agency, and we miss out on some of these top guys in the first round of the draft, there's a very good chance that we could be rolling out the same offensive line next season, and that's just a complete failure by the front office. Our offensive line is putrid. We all saw that. So I'll leave it there. Those are just a couple of guys that we can kind of keep our eye on heading into day 2 of the legal tampering period. Pretty interesting stuff, guys. So there's still some guys available. There's still, guys that can come in, make an impact. It's not over. We got to hold out hope, and we'll see how it all plays out. So let me know your thoughts, and as always, go Jets.